To begin today's video, I want you to consider the gap between real and ideal. Now, I know I've been talking a lot about that, and I think that it's very significant because when we focus on that gap, it can create some pretty intense negative emotions. And today, we're going to focus on that gap in particular in the way that we compare ourselves to others. Because when we focus on that gap between what is real and ideal, we have a tendency to look at others and think that their life is ideal, that what they have, the way they dress, the income they have, the house they have, the wife they have, whatever it is, we can look at them and think that their life is wonderful. But in actuality, if we really knew everything about them, we probably wouldn't make that comparison. And so that gap is full of social comparisons. And those social comparisons can be when we compare ourselves to what other people have, thinking that we have less. I call that an upward comparison. Or we can even compare ourselves to what people don't have, thinking that we are more fortunate than them. Now, in some ways, that can help us feel grateful for what we have, but I want you to be careful to not feel boastful or prideful, because self-importance is a myth. And it is a myth because in actuality, there is no one more important than you. And there's no one less important than you. You are just as important as everyone you meet, everyone you encounter, everyone you see. Whether they're on TV, whether on a movie screen, whether it's a boss at work, an executive, or any kind of a celebrity, you are just as important as they are. Now, surely, there are people out there that have more experience, they have more education, they have more income, they have more of whatever, but that doesn't make them more important than you, because you are just as important. Not that long ago, I was in the airport, and you know that I travel a lot, and travel sometimes is really difficult because there are so many people and sometimes it's very complex. I happened to be in an airport needing to change my ticket, and I was there waiting in line while someone else was at the counter taking all the time. And it seemed like it was taking forever, and I felt myself really starting to be impatient. In other words, I felt myself feeling negative emotions. And those negative emotions were robbing me of happiness. And I was getting mad that that other person was taking a lot of time with the agent. And I got to thinking that, well, wait a minute. They have as much right to be there at the airport to get the help they need as I do. I am not more important than them, and they are certainly not more important than me. Think about driving on the freeway in traffic where people are trying to squeeze in to what you think is your space. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but you really don't own the road. The road is owned by everybody on it. Everyone on the freeway has as much right to be there as you. And when you get upset that people are cutting in front of you and taking your place, it's creating negative emotions. It's robbing you from happiness and peace that you could feel in that moment. But when you start to get mad at other people for that, it's because you're starting to think that you're more important than they are. They are not more important than you. You are not more important than them. You are absolutely equal. When we make these comparisons, when we make these social comparisons, it has a tendency to create negative emotions. And these negative emotions include envy, jealousy, contention, depression, anger. I could go on, and it's a very long list. If you are having any of those emotions, you cannot feel happiness at the same time that you're having those negative emotions. Many times those negative emotions comes by making a social comparison. I want you to truly feel in your heart that you are equal to everyone around you. Now, in my line of work, I have the opportunity to meet with a lot of executives, CEOs of very large companies. And at first, when I was meeting with them, I would get a little starstruck. I would get a little nervous about meeting with them. But today, that nervousness has gone away, particularly when I consider that even though they may have a better title than I do, they may have a better position, a better job, they could be managing and leading one of the world's largest companies, but they're no more important than me. I may respect them for what they have done. They may be more experienced, but they're not more important. And when you think of social comparisons, I want you to know that it's a never-ending battle, because there will always be someone prettier than you. There will always be someone taller, thinner, bigger, wealthier, stronger than you. It is a never-ending battle of social comparisons once you start. So don't start. I want you to start to feel very comfortable with who you are. That in all of your strengths, in all of your talents, and all of your gifts, as well as all of your flaws, all of your mistakes, that you are really important, just as important as anyone else. So over this next week, I want you to really pay attention to when you make social comparisons, either thinking that you're better than someone else or thinking that they're better than you. Both of those are very dangerous. And what happens is that when you start to make social comparisons, what you're doing is you're focusing in on that gap between what is real and what is ideal, thinking that you want to be like them, that you want their life. And I'm telling you, you don't want anyone else's life but your own. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a slacker and not try to better your situation, to better your life, and to be happy. What it means is that you're just going to realize just how important you are, and that making those social comparisons does nothing but create negative emotions. Do away with those negative emotions. Stop the social comparisons and learn to convert those negative emotions into positive emotions, focusing on what is real, appreciating what is real, keeping your goal as to what is ideal, and moving towards that goal with positive emotions. You will learn to cultivate optimism. You will learn to be happier. There's no comparison. Let me tell you a story about two brothers. These two brothers grew up very close in age. Let's say they're only 18 months apart. One grew up to be a very successful lawyer, and one grew up to be an alcoholic, where later in life he overcome his alcoholism and has now been sober for 8 years. Which one is more successful? There's no comparison. You cannot say which one is more successful. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of education to become a successful attorney. But it also takes a lot of effort, probably more effort, to overcome being an alcoholic. And yet so often we find ourselves making those kind of comparisons. Those comparisons are dangerous because there is no comparison. Try not to make comparisons when there is no comparison. And when you stop making those comparisons, your life is going to become happier. You're going to become more optimistic. You're going to focus more on what you have and be grateful for that rather than on what you don't have. Social comparisons are dangerous. Get away from the danger. Learn how to be happy. And when you do, these positive emotions will overtake your life, and soon you will start to feel happier than you have ever felt before.